So today we're gonna do another Theater of Blood guide, and this time from the vantage point of the South Freezer, or South Mage. And I'm here with the boys. We're gonna go on a 4-man run, and as the South Mage, I will be the party leader. The South Mage is usually the party leader. The most important thing to note that I'm showing right here is 62 positive magic attack bonus. And what you really want is greater than 54. You want more than 54 magic attack bonus, because if you have that in Void and you pray Augury, you will never splash on Maiden's crabs. You will hit them 100% of the time. So you need 54 magic attack bonus in your Void plus Augury, and you'll never splash on them. And that is assuming 99 mage. But here we go. We're all in budget gear. We're all bringing less than 500 mil in gear. And we're going to start on Maiden. So, as the South Mage, it's your job to engage the boss. Especially the first boss, but honestly most bosses. So we will be engaging the boss. Everyone else is spam clicking the door, and we're going to engage. And that will get us all in on the same tick. They're all spam clicking right now. And there we go. And we're going to start with a Dragon Warhammer. And then we're going to go into a BGS spec. And then we go right back to whipping the boss. Right? And she's going to spawn her first set of crabs at 70%. So around 80% or so, right about now, we'll swap into our mage gear and we'll get ready. And we can get a mage head off if we want, but what we really care about is getting these crabs. And we're going to get 1, 2, and 4. So here we go. We're waiting for crabs. There we go. We grab 1. We don't have a 2, so we can either help with 3 or go straight to 4. So we'll help with 3, grab him. And then we'll grab those 4s, and then we're going to get close to the boss, right? And the reason why we want to get close to the boss is because we are number 1 in the orb order, which means that we take priority on aggro, and you can see right now that she actually shoots that hit at me. And that's because even though everyone was close to the boss, because we're number 1 in orb order, we take that aggro. But while everyone else is killing the boss as the mage, it's our job to either be freezing the tomatoes or killing the tomatoes, right? And always being ready for those crabs. So here we come. We're coming up to 50%, and we're going to get ready to freeze this next round of crabs. And we're going to get 1, 2, and 4. So here we go. We grab 1. And grab 2 when it gets close to that little yellow spot that I got marked. And we don't need to worry about 3. North Mage grabs 3, and we grab 4. There we go. And we can take all of them down. So we'll start barraging the clump. We'll take down the whole clump. Right, and once the clump is down, we have an option. We can either go and kill that tomato, which is probably what we're going to go do, or we can get on the boss. So let's start freezing these tomatoes, because now we got at least 2 of them. And we can also just try to take them down and clear up this room a little bit so it doesn't get too hectic. But we got our 30s spawning right now, so here come 30s. And we'll grab 1, and we don't have a 2, so we can actually help with 3. So here we go, right when they get next to each other, boom, 3 and 4. And we'll barrage down that clump and get on the boss and finish her up. Like I said, we want to stay melee range, take some of that aggro off of our melee DPS and range DPS. And at this point, it's just a free kill. Just take her down. If your prayer gets too low, if your prayer drops, drink a dose of Super Restore and get right back on the boss. At this point, if you have special attack bar, you can drop your claws, you can drop your chally, right, and just speed things up a little bit, because we don't want to be wasting supplies at Maiden, and we don't want our team to be wasting supplies at Maiden. But she's down, and we're going on to Bloat, the second boss in the Theater of Blood, and at this point, we want to do that self check, right, make sure we can call it out. We can call it out in voice comms, we can call it out in the chat, but we want to do that self check, so we'll put our salve on. And as the South Mage, it's oftentimes the Mage's role to be getting that BGS spec off. So because we're going to be doing BGS and we want that first hit on the boss if possible, we're going to enter the room first. And there's 2 options you can do right here. You can either BGS the boss when he goes down for first down, or you can do what's called drive-by BGS. And you basically run by him and take a bunch of flies, but you get that early BGS off. We're not going to do that in this video. We're just going to wait for him to go down. And as soon as he goes down, we're going to first hit with that BGS. So here we go. We're waiting for him to go down. Our salve is on. Our piety is on. And here we go. We're going to go hit him with a BGS into 3 whips. Here we go. Whip number 1, 2, 3, and then into a Chally. Chally to finish up, and then run away. Get behind that corner. And now we just have to stay opposite side of Bloat, right? Dodge the meat. Dodge the falling meat. Give yourself plenty of reaction time, plenty of room for reaction time, right? So we try to stay far, far away from him without getting too close, because he could turn at any time, right? So we want to stay pretty much like exact opposite of Bloat for as much of this transition as possible. But he goes down, and we're just going to go and get either 5 whips or 4 whips and a claw. So here we go, 1, 2, and then 3 will be claw. Then we'll go back to the whip, 4 and 5, and then we get out of there. Right, and Bloat's almost done. So we'll be planning, if we're in this budget setup, right, everyone's just using whips and void, we're going to be planning for a 3 down. If you have better gear, right, if you have Scythe, if you got guys with Torba and all that kind of stuff, if you got, you know, Scythe and Torba, you can probably get a 2 down. Most times you will get a 2 down. You can even chance it for that 2 down. But for this budget setup, we're just aiming for that 3 down, and this is going to be it, boys. We're going to take them down right now. Our Chally's coming up, so we could pop that Chally. Here we go. Get that last hit Chally off, and then just finish the boss. And we're done. At this point, we can drop the salve. We don't need that salve anymore, and it'll open up an extra space in our inventory. Oh, and it looks like we even got perfect bloat there, so that's cool. Yeah, nice clean bloat. And at this point, you want to buy a stamina. Definitely buy a stamina if you didn't bring one in with you already. I did bring one in with me, but you're definitely going to want to get a stamina so you don't forget for later. But as the South Mage, our role in Nylo is 100% mage duty. We are the mage for Nylo. And the North Freeze, he will be helping us out from time to time. But he's going to be focused mostly on melee. So our goal as the South Freeze or the South Mage is 100% mage duty, and keep your staff on long range. Long range will help for this. You won't have to be moving as much. You can stay kind of just huddled around the center. You can hit most things from these center tiles right here that I'm standing on. If you see multiple blue crabs all clumped up in the same spot, you can throw that barrage at them, right? As the South Mage, we do have our barrage spells, so we're totally equipped to just be taking down group crabs or single target crabs or whatever. But you can see that I have numbers above all the Nylos. You can see, like, they all say 10 right now. Those ones say 11. And that is the wave that they're currently spawned on. And this is the Nylower plugin. So I'm using the Nylower plugin, and that shows me the waves above all the crabs. And there's 31 total waves. So having the wave numbers is nice because I can see what are the newest crabs to spawn, what wave are we on, what are the old crabs that are probably just going to be expiring and dying themselves soon, so maybe I don't have to waste hits hitting old crabs, right? If they're an old wave, let's say we're on wave 20 and we see like a wave 17 floating around, he'll probably just expire and die on his own, so we don't necessarily need to be hitting that. But we're getting toward wave 20. We're approaching wave 20, and at this point, things start to get a little more hectic. There's going to be more crabs on the field. And if we see a lot of crabs, blue crabs, all around the same pillar, it's a great time to get that barrage off, right? Save some ticks, hit multiple crabs at once. And if you hit the wrong crab, it's okay. Your buddies will help take care of it. So we're doing really smooth right here. We'll just keep taking down our blue crabs, and we're going to start getting really hectic. This is where the pillars are going to start getting busy. So look, we can get that barrage off. Take down 2 at once right there. 2 at once isn't the best, but I mean, it's fine. If you're going to hit 2, might as well hit that barrage. Get that barrage off. And we have to remember that there's 31 total waves, so we know that we're approaching the end. So if our health is getting semi-low, if our pillars are getting semi-low at this point, we want to be getting our HP up. Make sure our prayer is all the way up. If you have a heart, you probably already used it, but just make sure that you did use your heart, right? Don't forget to have that popped. And this is the end. So we're on wave 29, approaching 30, and 31 will be the final wave, and we're going in to the Nylo boss. So here's a really good chance right here. If we can get a barrage off, there it is. Look at that nice big barrage. I think the North Mage actually might have got that, but that was a nice big barrage there in that corner. So they really come in handy. Those barrages come in handy. Check out our pillar health. Our pillar health wasn't even close to falling, and this is in super duper budget gear, right? And at this point, it's really just cleanup, and we're gonna get our melee gear on for the boss. The boss will always start in melee, and as the South freeze, the mage DPS, we can start with that double BGS spec. So here we go. We're gonna get 2 BGS specs off on the boss. BGS 1. BGS 2, and then we go into our whip. And what we want to do now is we want to be changing our prayer first, our defensive prayer first. Always change your prayer before changing your gear. You want to hit her with the correct style, of course, because it'll rebound and heal her if you hit her with the wrong style. But the #1 top priority is to always change your prayer first. If she changes mage, you want to change to mage pray first. So here, melee pray, melee gear. Right, and we start hitting the boss. 2 hits. Mage pray, mage gear. And you don't need to do that full mage swap. You can see right there I did a 2-way swap into the 5-way swap, right? So that first hit, I might only do a 1 or a 2-way swap. And then we can finish our swap after that. But again, the prayer is the most important thing. Always get that prayer off first. It's the top priority when fighting the Nylo boss, is changing your prayer first and changing your gear second. Luckily, in normal mode top, there isn't much movement that happens during this fight, so we really just need to be focusing on prayers and then our gear swaps. And if we get our prayers down right, we're not gonna die. The boss isn't gonna kill us if we start at full HP. But at this point, we're going into Sote, and everyone is calling their corners. So I called Southwest 1, 2. And these are going to be your corners for the remainder of the raid. So for the next 3 fights, everyone kind of has a designated corner. Mine is going to be Southwest. And because I called 1, 2, that means that I will be Dragon Warhammering the boss on Phase 1 and Phase 2. So here we go. We're going to get that first Dragon Warhammer off. Boom. We hit. And then we go into whip, and everyone goes to their designated corners. So you can see we're all hanging out at our designated corners. And I like to camp pray mage. You can camp pray melee, especially because you're in void gear, and his melee hits definitely hit more often if you're wearing void. But personally, I just like to camp pray mage. If I do end up taking a little too much damage, I can just heal up and repot. I got plenty of pots, plenty of supplies, and that'll be fine. But we're trying to get Sote down to 66% health, and that's when he will go into the first transition, the maze phase. And he'll drag one of us into the Shadow Realm. So let's see. So one of us is in the Shadow Realm right now, and they're going to show us the very first tile of the maze, and then they're going to walk us safely to the 3rd row. That's very important. At this point, we can wait. And then when everyone's ready, we can send it. And it's not a race, guys. Whoever's in the Shadow Realm doesn't need to go at light speed. They don't need to be tick perfect. They need to be precise. They don't want to be messing up their footwork. So let's talk about the boss's attacks, right? The boss throws mage balls. That's all the boss does. It does melee attacks and mage balls. And when the mage ball hits somebody, it can split into 2. It can split into another mage ball or a range ball. So range balls will always be bounced off of other players. So you need to be watching, everyone. I know it gets a little hectic, but the nice thing is, if you know that Sote always throws mage balls, you can focus on bounces and make sure if there's going to be any bounced black balls. But here we go. When he uses his giant orb special attack, we all stack up on the head like we did there, and our DPS was good. So this time we're in the Shadow Realm. We're going to show the first tile and the 3rd row. And when everyone's ready, we're going to send it. And like I said, we don't have to go light speed. We can go nice and slow, right? It's about delicate footwork. We want to be able to hit every tile precisely. Speed isn't necessarily the big thing to watch out for. It's precision. So here we go. Because we were camping Lightbearer, we can get that last Dragon Warhammer special off. We did manage to hit all 3 phases with the Dragon Warhammer Special, and that's simply because we are camping Lightbearer in this gear setup. If you're not camping Lightbearer, if you're bringing maybe an Ultor ring or just a Berserker ring or something like that, you'll only be able to get 2 hits off, which is with your special attack, which is why we call our phases at the beginning of the fight. So I was designated as Southwest 1-2. But I did have that Lightbearer, so technically I could hit all 3 phases. But Sote's down. And at this point, we're approaching the final 2 fights of the raid. So I'll reorganize my inventory really quick. I like to keep it standardized. And this is our last opportunity to buy supplies. So at this point, we want to drop all of our half-finished supplies. So if we have half-finished brews or half-finished restores, or even that half-finished super combat, I have 1 dose left, I'll drop it. And I want to have 4 super restores. Definitely a stamina. If you have not got your stamina by now, you need that stamina. Absolutely. 100% we're going to need it for Verzik. And then some brews and hard food, whatever you feel comfortable with. So you can see I'm bringing 6 brews and 2 hard foods. And we're getting ready to go into Xarpus, the 5th fight in the theater. And we're going to stay with our same designated corner that we assigned to ourselves during Sote, that last boss. And we're going to be standing on exhumes. And if our corner gets busy or if someone else's corner gets busy, you can go and help them out. Right? But the most important thing is to stay focused on your corner, right? Your corner is your top priority, and assisting other people's corners is the second priority. But this phase isn't even that bad. Honestly, even if it's botched, it'll be okay. It heals them a little bit. The phase lasts longer, like phase 2 and well, I guess phase 2 lasts a little longer. But here we go. The boss is about to spawn, and we're going to do a Dragon Warhammer special attack into a BGS. So here we go. 1 Dragon Warhammer into that BGS. There we go. And then we run up to the perimeter, and we're going to throw our range gear on. And all we have to do at this point is move 2 tiles away every time the boss looks at us. So he looks at us, we move 2 tiles. Just like that. That's all we have to do for Xarpus when we're doing the range method. And you can see all of us are doing blowpipe, and everyone just kind of moves 2 tiles whenever the boss looks at them as an individual. And what we're looking for right now is we want that boss to hit about 30% health, a little less than 30% health. When he goes below 30% health, maybe around like 29, 28, he's going to do a screech. He's going to shout screech over his head. And that's when he goes into the final phase of the fight. So we're at 40% health right now. We're looking for that screech. And it should be coming any second now. He's at 35% health. And once we see that screech, we're going to go into our melee gear. So we're getting ready. He's going to be transitioning any second right now. And there it is. There's the screech, right? So we get in close, get to those marked corner tiles, and we put on our melee gear. And what we want to do is we want to hit him when he's not looking at our quadrant. So there we go. We're in a different quadrant. We hit him 2 times with a whip, right? We can hit him 2 times per turn with a whip. If you're using a scythe, you cannot always get 2 hits off at a time. But if you're using a whip or a four-tick weapon, you can always get those 2 hits off each time that he turns, right? So 1, 2. And what we like to do is we like to go to the quadrant, if possible, that he was just looking at. So he's looking at this quadrant, so then we head there. Because you know that he can't look at the same quadrant twice, right? So it saves us a little bit of work after our second hit if we go to the quadrant that he was just looking at. Because we know that quadrant's going to be safe for the next rotation. But the boss is down, and we drop that shark on the ground, so we're going to go make sure to grab that, because we are entering the final fight of the Theater of Blood, and we want the full inventory of supplies. And you can see that skeleton right there on the ground before we entered. It had a staff on it, and someone must take the staff. You absolutely have to take the staff before entering this room right here. Otherwise, it's basically a guaranteed wipe. Someone has to have the staff, and they will be transferring it to the South Mage. The South Mage is going to start with the staff, because if you look in the top left of the screen, South Mage is number 1 in the orb order. And the rotation that we're going to be following when we switch the staff between players is going to be based off that orb order. So South Mage will start with the staff, and I'm asking for it right here, and they're going to be giving me that staff. There it is. So they drop it to me, and I want to get 2 special attacks off him because I'm the South Mage. I will engage the boss. So here we go. We engage the boss and we hit her, and we want to get 2 special attacks off, and I actually messed up right there and misclicked. So I'm going to get those 2 special attacks off, and instead of dropping my staff in front of the boss, I'll drop it behind the tower back here where it's safe for the next person to pick up, and the next person will be our North Mage, who's Invictus, and he's second in the orb order. So you can see right now they're swapping the staff according to orb order. So Cigar is the 3rd, he's the range, and he has it. And Kimbo is the 4th, so he takes the staff last. And now that Kimbo has the staff, it goes back to the South Freeze. It resets. So I grab that staff, get that last special attack off, and we can see right now that that pillar is getting low. So I have a choice. I can either drop it here and communicate to my team, don't forget the staff, or I can hold it for the next pillar. But that pillar has 1 last health left, and Invictus right there, who's holding the staff, is most likely going to be holding it and going off to the next pillar. See, you can see right there, he didn't drop it when that pillar only had 1 HP left. He carried it off to the next pillar because you don't want to drop the staff next to a pillar that's literally just about to die, just in case the person whose job it is to pick it up missed it or didn't get it in time or something like that. Now you would have the staff just laying on the ground all out in the middle of nowhere, and someone's going to have to risk their life to go and get it, or at least risk taking massive damage from the boss running out into no man's land where there's no pillar safe to hide behind. But the boss goes down, and we're going into phase 2 of the Verzik fight, and this is where we need to do the Verzik walk, the whip walk or the scythe walk, and we're going to start with Prey Range on. And right when this fight starts out, she does spawn crabs, so we're going to pop that crab as a top priority so we can get off the boss for a few seconds while we focus on popping those crabs. And what you can do is you can just let it get really close to you, right? And when it gets about 1 or 2 tiles away, you can just take off running. Don't walk away from it. Run away from it in a straight line. And that should pop the crab, and you might take 8 damage, or you might take no damage at all. And there is a way to always take no damage from those crabs. But for now, just let it get close to you, and then take off running as far away as possible in a straight line. Okay, but we're doing the whip walk right now. And the way I like to do it is when I see her cabbage splat on the ground, that's when I click walk back. So boom, walk back. Okay, walk back. The cabbage splats, walk back. And now she summons another round of crabs, so we need to stop focusing the boss and focus on popping those crabs. See, we got that white one right there. Get away from him really quick. So if you have a crab on you, if you have a crab that's literally walking, making a beeline toward you, you want to get off that boss and focus on popping your crab. The DPS isn't what matters at that point. It's popping the crab and making sure that the crab doesn't accidentally, pop on top of you. But when the boss gets below 35% health, she's going to go into her mage phase. So we put that mage prey on, and we need to start killing these red crabs. Right? And the red crab doesn't necessarily need to die, but it needs to get very low. So maybe 1 more hit. The red crab doesn't want to get too low. But we want to get that red crab as low as possible. You can see on the other side, their red crab is very low, which is good. They did perfect on their red crab. Invictus got that 1 last hit off on ours, and that was a perfect little red crab phase. So you can kill the crab, but all you really need to do is get it low, because when the crabs splat, when they pop themselves, they're going to heal the boss for their remaining health, which is why you don't necessarily need to kill it, but getting it low is good enough. And you can see right there on their side, they got that crab really low, and then they just kind of ignored it and got back onto the boss because you don't have to kill the crab. Look, it healed her 23 damage, which really isn't that much health, right? But our goal is to get the boss below 10% health, because at that point you can either ignore crabs and just nuke her down, or just focus on fighting the boss like normal and getting back onto her when after the red crab spawn if she only has a few health left. But at this point she's in phase 3, and she focuses Invictus as the tank. And Invictus, if he doesn't want to be the tank, he can pass it by walking directly underneath the boss. You can see he's walking underneath the boss right now, and it just switched to Kimbo. And Kimbo decides that he doesn't want to tank the boss either, so he can stand underneath the boss for about 2 hits, right? And then the boss switches to me. So now I'm the tank, and I'll be doing the tank demonstration for this one. So what you don't want to be doing, you do not want to be standing next to the boss when the boss actually does its attack. Because if you're standing next to the boss as the tank when the boss decides to attack, she could throw a melee hit. And the melee hit hits everybody and they'll all be off prayer, and it can hit really fat 50s. So you can either walk underneath the boss during the tick that she's going to be attacking on, or you can run a few tiles away, and make sure you're running and not walking so that she's not still next to you when she decides to get her attack off. But what we're doing right now is we are getting the boss hopefully as close to 20% health as possible. But we're really waiting for yellows. We're waiting for yellows to spawn. And because our gear setups are so low, we're most likely going to get those yellows before she transitions. So here we go. We got yellows coming up any second now, and there they are. So we all get to our own yellow pool. And at this point, we want to fully top ourselves up to full HP. We want to get full HP, fully brewed. Drink your stamina if you're not potted up on stamina. And we're looking to finish off the boss. We want to get her down to 20% health, which is when the tornadoes will start spawning. And you can see right there, I didn't get out of her melee range in time. I was still standing in her melee range when she decided to attack, and she did a melee attack that hit both me and Cigar for massive damage. We took like 40s and 50s, which is why the melee, you don't want to be hit by melee, and the tank roll is just so crucial. You can see I got flustered after all that, and I got hit by another melee. But the tornadoes have spawned, and at this point, everyone wants to drop their Dragon Claw special attacks. They want to drop their Chalies if they have it, and we're focused on just nuking down the boss's last 20% health. This is where you want to use your final special attacks and finish off that boss's last few health while dodging tornadoes, constantly moving. And the boss is down, and that was the South Mage's vantage point of the Theater of Blood, and we finally get to go get our loot. And I think that was a deathless raid. So thanks a lot to the boys. Thanks for coming with me on this raid. Really appreciate it, guys. And to everyone watching, if you're still sticking around, please throw me a like and a sub. We're getting close to 10,000 subscribers, and we might be able to hit it this year in 2024. But thanks a lot, guys. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned a lot, and I'll see you boys in the next one. Peace out.